All right, hello, Mr. Human Service Chair. In this presentation, I'll be talking about your responsibilities and opportunities. So, at the end of the lecture, I hope you'll understand the general officer responsibilities, so the responsibilities every officer holds, and understand your own responsibilities and your own position. And then we'll identify opportunities that you can act on, so the things you can do outside of your responsibilities. And finally, after this presentation, you will synthesize your responsibilities and opportunities into one easy to understand description. So just for starters, let's get right into it. General officer responsibilities are all listed here. The ones I want to touch on mostly is, so the first one is mostly set by the Venerable Dean on whether how much he's going to require you to do hours each week, but it is definitely pertinent that you do, say, some hours that you block off, like 12 to 2 on Sunday, you just do occasional work. That way you're always on top of getting your planning done, your recording done, anything you need to do for your position. As a new human service chairman, it's definitely important that you review policies, so past policies, and then the gold book that pertains to your position, which is which is on the Google Drive, the chapter Google Drive account. Now, the monthly one-on-ones with the Venerable Dean might not seem important, but it's not enough to just talk at officer meetings or casually on the side. It's good to sit down at least once a month and in detail talk to him about the things you're doing, have done, and the things you're planning for. That way you guys are on the same page, and he's going to do this with every officer to make sure that everything's going smoothly. You'll need to create your position budget and present it to the treasurer 2 weeks before the first meeting in January. That way the budget can be created in time and done, and you can get reimbursed for your expenses. It also makes sure that you get your planning done, because once you know what your goals are, how you can go get your goals, you can realize, okay, how much it's going to cost to do these things to get to my goals. You're going to complete training, what you're doing now, and attend the transition session in January, and be at the chapter house early, 1 week in the fall and 3 days in the spring. And this is the really important one. You're going to need to prepare and send weekly reports, so your weekly chapter report to the secretary before the officer meeting. Not before chapter, but before the officer meeting. If you do this before the officer meeting, then that allows the secretary to make up the agenda before the officer meeting, and you guys can sit down, and instead of spending a bunch of time making the agenda, you can just fine tune it and then discuss the more important issues. So, responsibilities within your own position, they can kind of be divided into 3 sections. So, service projects, philanthropy, and then we'll use the PER system of the planning, recording, and reporting to kind of talk about what you need to do. So first, we'll talk about service projects, which are the CCE projects. You're going to want to make sure, the first thing, and this is important, that all brothers are on CougSync, including new pledges as they join, because that's where they'll use to go and sign up for projects, CCE projects. And you'll have some projects that are all brother projects. So of course you'll encourage guys to go on and just sign up for their own CCE projects to get their hours done. But as far as your responsibility and what you'll do, you'll establish these all brother projects. So you work with the group's project coordinator, that's a position at the CCE, so the Center for Civic Engagement, to arrange a project with a community partner. So that's an organization within the community. You'll pick the project based on the interests of the brotherhood, like if they want to work with the elderly, outside, for the environment, whatever. And you also arrange for transportation, because if you do an all-brother project, CCE doesn't provide transportation, we have to figure out, all right, who's going to drive who to get there. Then, of course, there's the yearly All Brother projects, things that just happen regularly. And one that happens in the spring is the middle school spaghetti feed, so the Lincoln Middle School spaghetti feed. And you'll be contacted, probably the Venerable Dean or someone in the chapter will be contacted by them to remind us and be like, hey, it's coming up, will you guys help out? And of course, we always love helping out of that project. Going a little more on to CC projects. So to give you a little background on what the one-time service projects are, the ones they sign up on CougSync, they're projects that each member can sign up for. They're arranged by the CC and do not require your help. And members can pick interesting projects, or you can pick interesting projects and inform the brotherhood of them. Because it's one thing to say, hey, go sign up for these projects, and then that's it. But it's another thing to say, hey, here's some things that are happening this week that you can do. And guys will be like, oh yeah, maybe I want to go, pet some animals for an hour. So that's really good. Pro tip, especially when you're looking for different projects for them to attend, look for Eco Ventures through the ORC. So that's the Outdoor Recreation Center. They team up with the CCE to put on these projects so that you can go out and do really cool like rafting trips, skiing, and you do it at a discounted price, and you also get human service done. So moving on from service, we're just going to go right into philanthropy. So this is kind of the other side. Philanthropy would be defined as just kind of more of just raising money or things like that, toys, whatever it be. And our at Acacia Fraternities, uh, their donor or they're the one that they work for is Shriners. So they're our official philanthropy organization, Shriners Hospital for Children. And the closest one for us is up in Spokane. So that's actually pretty convenient. And then how we help them is through Acacia Cause, and that's where we collect toys every winter, and then we send the toys up to them because it's a children's hospital, and a lot of times, what Shriners does, well, I'll talk more about Shriners later, but Acacia Cause is a toy drive. And then there's the 7 days of service, which is another, Acacia Cause is a national service project that we do as a fraternity. And another national service project is the 7 days of service, where for a week you'll pick for the chapter to just do one kind of service project each day, and then that'll be it. So it can vary from fundraising to go out and doing something, but you'll just plan a week to just focus on human service basically. So let's go ahead and I give you a brief overview of each one. Here's some more information on each. I won't go and just read it all for you. I know you know how to read. But basically, what you want to know about Shriners Hospital first is that you can see where they're located. So it's not everywhere. And it's basically a place for treatment and research. And it originally started out with like burns and certain kind of things, but it's actually opened up to a lot of different kind of care. And it's free of charge. As you can see down here, it's free of charge for children and no child is turned away. So this is very essential for low income or just people who have really bad medical conditions that cost a lot of money, and that way they can get these treatments. So, one of our major philanthropies, and probably one you actually already know a lot about, but I'll make sure you understand it, is Acacia Claus. So, I'll assume you know mostly about it, but like I said, it's a toy drive. And here's just kind of like a list of things that you'll do for Acacia Claus to happen. And so, for Acacia Claus to happen, you'll first contact local retailers such as Walmart or Hodgins in Moscow 3 months in advance. Again, 3 months in advance. Don't procrastinate. As there will be paperwork involved. You know, hey, yes, you can do this, or yes, you can use our logo, as in the case of Shriners Hospital. You'll want to contact the Spokane Shriners Hospital about using their logo and doing the philanthropy. They need to, be okay with you giving them the toys, which they are, usually. And then you'll set up a week or weekend to table outside the stores and have brothers sign up for certain times. Now, something not a lot of volunteers or human service chairmen always do is that we have an interesting connection to the Masons where they can actually help us fill in the gaps that maybe not the brothers can fill in. They can help along, maybe even donate different kind of materials like a banner for us to use or anything like that, Santa hats to use. So look into maybe contacting the Masons for helping out with this event. So you'll want to have a table, tablecloth, a sign, boxes, and flyers, so info about Acacia and Shriners and suggested donations, and optional, like I mentioned, Santa hats or even like a Santa suit or candy canes to give out. Things like the flyers that I mentioned, that stuff's already on the Google Drive, so the chapter's Google Drive account, where you can get past flyers that we've used and you just update them and reuse them again. And finally, you're going to want to set when and who will drive the donations to the hospital or to, if we can't do Shriners, to someone else. So that's basically Acacia Claus in a nutshell. All these things I'm only going to touch on briefly. If when it comes to it and you need more information and help planning them, please come to me. But 7 days of service, this is one that our chapter hasn't done in the past. It is something that nationally, or I should say internationally, our chapter does do. And they are now making a push for all chapters to do it. And so it originated in '83. And it's something that, during 7 consecutive days, we just do all kinds of different things. And a lot of times it includes just like having blood drives that we do. And Acacia has long rewarded chapters that raise the most money and donate the most pints of blood. So just keep that in mind when we get to, we'll do awards packet for Conclave to be internationally recognized for our chapter. They'll look at, how much money did you guys raise during this week or how much pints of blood did you raise? And that way you can kind of set your events accordingly, trying to, meet these. So that's basically it. So you have service projects, getting guys to get their 12 hours of community service, philanthropy, like Acacia Claus or 7 days of service, or maybe you'll even want to put on your own philanthropy, whether it be a blood drive or anything else. Now, here comes the more management side. So the planning, recording, and reporting. So first, for planning, I wanted to give you some some quick key tips to effective planning. So plan all your events in the master calendar. That's something that the secretary manages. You'll always want to delegate, so don't try to do everything yourself, especially with big things like Acacia Clause or any other big events. You want to set firm deadlines for tasks. So when you have this big project like Acacia Clause, map it out. Like say little deadlines for, okay, I'm going to contact Walmart here. We're going to have the materials all ready by here, and so forth. You want to plan regular events such as Adopt a Block and also varied events, like I mentioned, those all brother events, and just do different things to match different interests of the chapter. And finally, you want to communicate your plans with the other officers, including all pertinent details about the event, so everyone's on the same page. Nice little key tip is work with the CC to plan all brother service events. So, responsibilities and recording. This might not be the funnest thing to do, but Acacia is a learning organization and we rely on this information so that way we can progress and build off of our successes and our failures. And also is important to ensure that every member is in progress at completing their hours so they don't put it off till the end. So each week, record the hours in the member database. That's something that's on the Google Drive account again under databases. And you'll record human service events, including the good and bad of those events. So how did Acacia Clause go? Did we get, how much money did we get? You know, was Walmart good or was Hodgins better? Those kinds of things. And then you'll record the money raised. Oh, sorry, I mentioned that. With Acacia Clause, you can either record, it doesn't really work to record, you know, how many toys were collected. That's one way to do it. But a good way is to kind of go through the toys and assess a monetary value of them. So that way we get a full, like, yeah, we collected $5,000 worth of toys this year. So that's really good for reporting and for these award things. So remember, without recording human service information, Acacia cannot build off its successes. And then also, it can't be recognized for them. Last part of the system is reporting. So you're going to want to keep the chapter in the know by doing these items. Ask members about past events, including the bad and the good. So that's something you'll record on later. And then report upcoming events, including their details. So of course, what, where, when, and the dress. Report which members are completing their hours and who is not. This is something that's crucial to keeping them accountable. If you go through and say, hey, you know, this week Rob got 12 hours of community service. That's awesome to see. But then if you report, hey, so here's the list of guys who have not done any hours. And if it's like 75% way through the semester and there's guys, 5 guys without any hours, then that's, you know, cause alarm and you can use the chapter as a peer pressure thing to get these guys to get those hours done. Lastly, inform the members about CC projects that they can attend that week. So those are your responsibilities. Described there, it's described very just broadly. And maybe it will sound like a lot to you, but it isn't. Like I said, for some of the tips is use a committee or delegate and plan ahead, and it makes it a lot easier to get your responsibilities done. And if you do this well, and if you listen to this advice you had in this presentation, you'll have time for opportunities. There's a lot of cool things you can do that is not required of you in this position. And the only real limitation is yourself. So how much can you push yourself, how creative you're willing to be, and ultimately the limits you set on yourself. So let's go ahead and look at some ideas that you can for opportunities. So you can plan a major event or philanthropy event like a dance marathon or a 5K. If you're interested in any of those, you can just look them up. You can plan a camping trip that involves a service like clean up a park or trail maintenance. And you can even plan your own blood drive. So now you have a little bit of understanding of what your responsibilities and some of the things you can do outside of those responsibilities. I want you to go outside this presentation in this module, go to the activity section and write up a quick little summary of what you think your responsibilities and opportunities are without using this presentation or gold book or anything else as a reference. Thank you, Mr. Students Chair, and I hope you have a great semester.